Today, we begin this reading with a different asset, MSTR from Strategy. MSTR is not Bitcoin. But over the last few years, it became one of the most public and aggressive ways of expressing conviction in Bitcoin inside the traditional market. That is why it works as a proxy. An imperfect mirror, but an important one. And now, that mirror is beginning to show tension. On the weekly chart, MSTR has been in a clear downtrend since November 2025, as the winds continue to show. So the real question becomes this: what does Bitcoin's loudest proxy begin to reveal when conviction is no longer carried by belief alone, but starts to need liquidity? I observe, not instruct, for educational purposes only. Looking at MSTR's recent movement, we can see a coherent falling structure. Price has been respecting a well-defined descending channel. At this moment, the base of that structure is being tested, with MSTR trading around $90. From the all-time high to this region, the asset has already absorbed a drawdown of roughly 83%. This is not a small decline, and it is happening at a moment the market can no longer treat lightly. Before continuing with the chart itself, it is worth adding one factual detail. According to the data displayed on Strategy's own website, 2 recent reductions in its Bitcoin balance totaled 3,588 Bitcoin, for approximately $216 million. For a long time, the narrative around Strategy was simple: accumulate Bitcoin. When that narrative begins to include selling, liquidity, or the monetization of part of the position, the market has to read MSTR differently. Not because that proves collapse, but because the proxy stops being only a reflection of conviction. Returning to the chart, we know descending structures can break upward. That happens often when selling pressure begins to lose force and demand starts to rebuild. But it is still too early to validate that reading here. And the most recent channel is not alone. MSTR is also carrying a broader and older structure, one that can change the meaning of the current channel completely. It may not seem obvious at first glance, but if price were to search for the base of that larger channel, we would be talking about another decline of roughly 35%. This is where the gauge becomes useful. Price shows the structure. Pressure shows the quality of the movement. Pressure is already deeply depressed, and at first glance that might sound constructive. But there are still no clear signs of exhaustion. The indicator remains at extreme levels without a visible divergence, without recovery, and without a true regime shift. So for now, the structure is heavy, and the pressure beneath it has not confessed relief yet. Now the reading becomes more interesting because MSTR alone does not tell the whole story. We need to look at Bitcoin against MSTR. When we look at BTC/MSTR, we are not measuring Bitcoin in dollars. We are measuring Bitcoin's relative strength against MSTR. And here, a curious reading begins to appear. Unlike MSTR by itself, BTC/MSTR seems to be approaching a relevant upper region. At first, that may sound contradictory, but it is not. If MSTR forms a bottom and rises with force, Bitcoin can also rise. The difference is that MSTR may rise faster, and that would make Bitcoin lose relative strength against MSTR even while still advancing in absolute terms. And once again, unlike the absolute MSTR chart, here we have a large descending channel standing against the shorter ascending one. The top of that broader channel is still far away, roughly 110% above the current region. And the winds are now confirming a recent return to a longer-term bullish regime. That means, in structural terms, Bitcoin may be entering a stronger phase against MSTR across the coming periods, even while trading close to a meaningful upper region inside the current move. But what does the gauge say here? Here too, the pair remains in a positive regime. But now the first divergence is beginning to appear. Does that mean Bitcoin is about to collapse against MSTR now? Not at all. Divergence is not a sentence. It is pressure asking for confirmation. This kind of divergence can continue for a long time during an advancing structure, as long as the regime itself does not begin to fail. And now we arrive at the real question behind this reading. What is MSTR beginning to reveal about this phase of the cycle? If MSTR stabilizes or forms a bottom near the base of its older channel, it may become one possible catalyst for a harder reset in Bitcoin if the broader market allows that tension to spread. But if MSTR loses its most important structure, the risk becomes larger than the decline of a single stock. It may be the moment when Bitcoin's loudest proxy begins to reveal something deeper than volatility, a real fracture in conviction. At the same time, Bitcoin is still showing resilience against MSTR, and that matters. Because even if conviction in MSTR weakens sharply, it does not automatically mean Bitcoin is finished. Bitcoin is already navigating above relevant resistance zones in relative terms. So if MSTR and Bitcoin begin to move in opposite proportions for a while, that would not be a strange outcome. For now, this reading does not ask for a conclusion. It asks for attention. So I'll keep observing.